what's going on? What? You can't do that. Wait, this is my game. Hey, throw it back to me. I order you to throw it back to me. What? That's not fair. You guys are just mean. What just happened? I got dissed, yeah. Describe what just happened. I got left out, yeah. What else? They took the ball. Didn't go according to my plan. What else? Did you notice anything about me? I was disturbed, hurt feelings. I got mad, stamped, walked off, walked away, angry, hurt. Yeah. So my responses were simply a multiple way of showing conflict when we're in relationship with each other. And there's something going on here that doesn't serve me. I mean, when I said, you can't do that, that's like, this isn't happening. I'm in denial. And when I said, this is my game, that's the selfishness coming out, right? When I said, I order you to throw it back to me, that's when we want to be in control of the situation, yes. Or when we determine that isn't fair, we cry victim. Can you hear that? When I said, you're mean, now I'm making a judgment. When I stamp my foot and walk away and give up, angry, how'd that work for me? Did I get what I wanted? No. Okay. So the bottom line here is that someone interferes with what we want and we resist. Up here on the screen, that's kind of our definition for conflict. Someone interferes with what we want and we resist. Now, when you look at that statement there, which part of it is beyond our control? Someone interferes. And which part of it do we actually have control over? Whether we resist or not, or what comes up for us at all. So we're going to talk about resistance today. We started last week looking at non-resistance. And one of the things that we're trying to learn here is that non-resistance is actually the way to provide for all of our needs. When we resist, that can happen to all of us, and we can each respond in our own unique ways because of what we've experienced in our life up to this point. Whenever some form of conflict shows up for us, our resistance is most often coming from past experience. It's a thing that we've learned. It's a point of view. It's a perception. And although we might have multiple perceptions in a case like this, I just want to focus on 3 today. And one of the perceptions is, it's me. I'm the cause of this problem because I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve Mark's attention. And I'm not respectable in the world. I don't know why I should start being respectable now. I'm not important in people's eyes. And so that's the feeling and the belief, the perception that we walk away with. And that also is going to inform how we behave during the altercation. I'm unworthy. It's all about me. Secondly, we point outside of ourselves and blame it on them. Whatever's happening right now is their fault. They are against me. They're getting in my way, they're taking my fun, they're keeping me from my good. It's them that's causing the problem. And then thirdly, we may have the perception that we just live in a world of lack and that I'm never going to find my good. No matter how many times I step out and try and get at it, it is out of my reach. There's just not enough to go around. And I've learned I'm always picked last in gym. Anybody? Yeah. So if our response to this kind of situation brings up a negative emotion in us, then we can know in that moment, I'm in resistance. Negative emotion means I'm in resistance. Pay attention to that. Let that be something that sinks into your subconscious so that at least if you do feel a negative emotion, you are also snapping awake to the idea, I'm in resistance. And that also means that I am no longer living, expressing, vibrating, feeling, being in alignment with my higher self, with how spirit is working in the universe. And when I get out of sync that way, all my good is up here and I'm down here. I'm out of sync. And instead, I'm agreeing and I'm affirming and I'm aligning with the problem, the obstacle, the enemy, so to speak. So last week when we talked about non-resistance, we showed a clip from the movie Harry Potter where all the kids fell down into the devil's snare and they were about to die until Hermione remembered something about how to get out of this. And her words were, just relax, trust me. Do you remember that? And that is an opportunity for us to see that our faith in action will actually heal this problem. Just relax and trust is another form of non-resistance, is another form of putting our faith in action. And our faith is about seeing as God sees. Approaching this situation, not from our ego, but from a higher point of view. And I almost feel like there's people in this room right now sneering because you've got a situation in mind that you're thinking, that'll never work. But let me promise you that if you can get to a place of putting your faith in God and seeing as God sees and responding to the situation as God would, it would mean that there would become nothing to be afraid of. There would become nothing to push against you. Once you become the way of God, as Gary Simmons would say in his book, Eye of the Storm, become the way of God, now suddenly it doesn't matter who or what is going on outside here in front of you. And I know that when you are deep in conflict, you're thinking, there is no way I'm going to get to that place where I can say, relax and trust. And the problem is that when we get to that, it's because our subconscious is now taking over. We are asleep to our divine nature. We have forgotten that we are spirit. And now it's just knee-jerk reaction. It's just a repeating of, remember we talked about those fictional stories that we've been writing all of our life, not based in truth? All those stories start to come up and respond to similar situations in our life. So in that moment, we have an opportunity to practice what Imelda Shanklin talked about. I shared words from her last week up here on the screen. She said, non-resistance commands omnipotence, which makes no sense to the ego. But the idea was that when you can get to the point where you are not resisting who or what's in front of you, you're actually making a way for God's good to move, because that means you're in that higher energy, that higher flow, and you're open and receptive to it. She also said, this week I want you to hear these words, non-resistance is stronger than resistance. You think pushing back, having an argument, or stomping your foot and walking away mad is going to solve your problem. How's that going for you? Not so good? Okay, so this is our opportunity to try out non-resistance and see if it isn't stronger and doesn't get better results. One of the things that I want you to hear today is you will probably find situations if you look hard enough that will say, now, Kity, you just can't avoid resistance in a case like this. Well, let's set aside all those rare moments. I'm not talking about allowing physical abuse. I'm not talking about, settling in and allowing someone to break the law right in front of you. But that's not going to happen to most of us most of the time. Let's focus on the most that happens to us. And in this case, your non-resistance is going to get you miles ahead of resistance. And think of it as a way of being. Non-resistance is a way of being. It's a level of consciousness. You can literally feel the energy. Just think non-resistance, and you feel your shoulders dropping, and you want to take a deep breath, and you want to feel more relaxation coming over you. And the reason that we can step into that in any given moment is to recognize there's nothing to push against here. We're coming back to there's only one presence and one power in the universe. It's loving, it's goodness of God. So there is no need to fight or flee. I can be non-resistant, and when I choose non-resistance, there becomes a way for me to work my way through this. So let's learn how to become the way of God instead of being in the way of God. And the other thing I want you to hear today is that whenever you come up against a conflict, there's a gift in it. Conflict is our friend. Say that with me. Conflict is our friend. It just barely comes out of our mouth. When we feel resistance, interference of some kind is happening for us, and it's bringing up that negative emotion, that's also telling us that there is some kind of error belief in our consciousness. And this is an opportunity for us to receive the gift of healing and awakening and renewing and becoming the way of God. Every conflict that shows itself to you is simply showing itself because we are ready to see it and we are ready to heal it. It wouldn't surprise me if our higher self wasn't busy looking all the time for opportunities to lead us into conflict. Because if spirit leads us into a conflict, it means that we have something within us that believes in that interference as bad. And so spirit's always trying to renew that and change that part of our mind. You believe that? You're not liking your higher self right now? It's an opportunity to heal, to go from being in the way of God to being the way of God. And that, my friends, is one of our soul's purpose for being. Yes, we wanted to come in here and have this human experience specifically to feel what it's like not to get our way. Because as a spiritual being in the heavenly realm, that's never an issue. But let's find out in this physical dimension what it's like to not get our way, to not have what we want, and see what we can do with that. Now, it's not just about experiencing the pain and suffering of it. It's also about transforming it. That's the gift. You're continually being given opportunities with conflict to find out what you can do with it, to raise you up above it. So a lot of times when we're in conflict, we feel like we've just hit a wall and we can't move forward as to what we want. But today, let's think of it as we come to the edge of a cliff. Maybe that's a little better than hitting a wall, or worse. But pretend like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, and at this point, you can't go any further, and you feel like all you can do is fight to get past this thing that's keeping you from moving away from the edge of the cliff, or trying to flee sideways, or do whatever you can to get away from it. But what if, as you're standing at the edge of the cliff, you could fly? I had this amazing dream where I was standing, let's say the cliff is right here at the stairs, and I was standing back about here. And up here in front of me, Native American Indians were standing at the edge of the cliff, just randomly every once in a while. And suddenly one of them would step off the cliff and they would fly up into the air. And I watched that, and my jaw was hanging open, and I said, wow, I really want to do that. But of course, I was too terrified. But I really want to do that as they kept shooting up into the air. So I kept getting closer and closer to the edge of the cliff, and I put my foot out. No, there was no support there. I was not going to do it. But they were shooting up into the sky, and it looked so cool. And so finally I said, you know what? It's worth taking the chance. I'm going to try this. And I took a step off the cliff, and I gave way to the other foot, and voom! It's like this huge force shoved me up into the air, and I just kept going and going and streaming up into the air, and it was so exhilarating. And then I woke up, and I thought, wow, what a ride. So what if, when we run into a conflict, we have the opportunity to step off the cliff into a force that raises us up above the conflict, up above the person that we're struggling against? The issue is that you have to take that first step. And when that conflict gets you up to the edge of that cliff and you're tempted to find a way out, just don't take a step backwards. Don't take a step away from the situation. Try and step out and watch how you will rise up above it. Jesus talked about dealing with our adversary this way from the book of Matthew, chapter 5. He said, agree quickly with your adversary while you're on the way to court with him, or your adversary may hand you over to the judge and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. So think of the outer adversary as any cause of difficulties in your life. And it doesn't have to be that the person is bad. It's just, they're just being in contrast to whatever it is that you want. Now think of the adversary as something within ourselves. This is way more common that we can do something about. It's the ego within us that's always trying to show us or tell us how unworthy we are, or how much people are against us. That's the voice of the ego, that's the adversary, and we are called to make peace with it, to be agreeable, really. To be agreeable as quickly as possible. Not necessarily, again, with breaking the law or allowing abuse, but becoming agreeable in consciousness. Which means before you're focused on what's happening and what seems to be being taken from you, focus inwardly and become agreeable with God. Because when we focus on the problem, we put ourselves in a state of disagreeable. And suddenly, there's no good that's going to get through that. So we have to change our energy, our consciousness to agreeable, just in general, with all the good that God has for us, so that it can then move through us. And when we do that, we stop being the cause of our own suffering. We stop throwing ourselves out of tune with the universe, and instead we become that way where God's good can flow, not just for you, but also for the other person. They will sense your agreeable energy, and they will think, oh, there's not going to be a need to push here. I can relax too. And then you start to have a better outcome. So trusting that when I take a step towards agreeable, I'm going to take a step towards being the way of God. You are now at the edge of your glory. You're now open and receptive to expanding the leading edge of consciousness. That's something that Esther Hicks talks about a lot, about that we're here to expand the leading edge of consciousness. That part of ourself as human being that says, I can only go so far before I hit a wall, the leading edge of consciousness wants to push past and know there's new territory available here. And we can go to a higher point of view. So let's go back to those 3 perceptions that need to be changed and see how we can do that in this case. Start with that perception that says, I'm unworthy. That certainly puts you in a disagreeable state of consciousness, yes? We know how that feels in our hearts and in our bodies when we feel like we are no good. And it puts us into this place of fear that we will never be loved, we'll never get what we need. But come back to that scripture from 1 John up here on the screen. There is no fear in love, for perfect love casts out fear. So this is our chance when we step off that cliff to step out into love, to let love raise us up above the circumstances and this person standing in front of us, and letting our response be from spirit. Lord knows our actions are occasionally out of alignment and therefore not perfect. But all the while, your true self of spirit, higher self, is always perfect, is made of love, is perfectly whole and complete. That's the person that we want to live from, especially when we are in conflict. We have to learn how to be willing to expand that leading edge of consciousness and see things differently. And this is a chance for us to remember there's love here. I don't care what you look like or what you're doing. At the same time, love is here because God is here. And the very nature of this universe that we are living in right now is loving us. And it's seeking to bring our good to us. But as long as we're in resistance, we will never find it. So part of getting past that I am unworthy consciousness is first yourself stepping out of love, stepping out into love, allowing love to be the dominant energy in you, and it will guide your response to this situation. Someone that was listening to the service last week started to talk to me about how she could apply this to something going on in her life. And I said, oh, can you tell me a little bit about it? Maybe I could share it next week. I said, I promise I won't mention your name. So what she shared was really kind of extraordinary. And she had been dealing for years with a picture in her mind of what it means to be a good mother and what it means to have a happy family. And in her mind, it was like your kids, hang out with you and they make a space for you in their lives and they respond to you when you reach out and they welcome you with open arms into their homes. And she was feeling like that's not happening here. And she also was at a place where she was wanting her family to love each other and get along and enjoy each other's company. That wasn't happening here. And so even though she loved the part of her life where she was an active mother in their lives, raising them and feeling like all the tasks involved in being a mother was really opening her heart, it seems like her kids had a different memory of this situation. And so the meaning, remember we talked about the perception or the meaning that we give things is our biggest form of suffering? She understood that she had been giving a meaning of, I'm a failure, into this situation. And any one of us who feels like we're unworthy can probably relate to that I am not able to do what it is that I want to do, and it's really important to me. So she recognized she had been kind of ingraining that in her subconscious by talking about the problem regularly to anybody that would listen. But she came to an understanding. I know I have no power to change them. Say that with me. I know I have no power to change them. But she did say, I have the power to change the meaning that I'm giving this situation. Do you hear that? She said, I do have the power to see them differently. I do have the power to see them through the eyes of spirit, the eyes of love. I can forgive myself for not being what they want me to be. I know everyone is always doing the best they can with what they have at that moment. I'm spirit and possess all God's qualities. And she talked about the meditation that we did last week and the affirmations, and she said consistently applying those to my subconscious has the power to rewrite my operating beliefs. So that's my commitment. I let them all off the hook, and I keep remembering we are spiritual beings here to learn and grow. We are love. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. So when we get to that point where I'm not good enough, I'm failing here, this is our chance to remember, first and foremost, I am love. I love myself, I love them, and love is going to show us the way out of this, or through it. The second perception we talked about was, it's them, it's their fault. They're always against me, they think they're better than me, they're always trying to take something from them. But what about this scripture? Paul wrote to the Romans, if God is for us, who can be against us? How can we say that? Because if God is for us, and God is all that is, omnipresent, omnipotence, then there is no other power against us. So what if, in this case, when we start to respond with, it's their problem, what if we shifted into our power of understanding? We have a power of understanding that allows us to see through the details and get a deeper clarity on what's really going on. A lot of times when it feels like they are in charge and they're trying to ruin things for us, that's our chance to stop and say, what's missing here? What is it that I'm not aware of that's going on that maybe we can fix? What's going on in our relationship? What's going on in this situation? Is there something that I should have done or that I could have done that I didn't do because I didn't know? Or maybe something I did say or did do that I shouldn't have done that I wasn't aware of? Well, let's find out. Let's be open and receptive to what's going on for them. Ask them to tell you more. Tell me more. Let's say that together. Tell me more. Wouldn't that be an interesting response to a conflict? Tell me more. What's going on for you? What's happening within you? How can I help? What can I do for you to help you get to this? And it may be that it's really not you that has done anything. It's just that there's something missing for them that they need to become aware of and that maybe you can help. As soon as you come up with this approach, it's going to give them an opportunity to also start to relax and see, okay, maybe there is something good here for me. Maybe they can understand what's going on for me, and maybe we can undo this. What you want to get to is agreeable for both of you. And your willingness to open up to a deeper understanding to what's going on will promote that opportunity for them. And that third perception we talked about is believing there's just not enough and I'm always last in line. That idea is disagreeable. But hear me in this. There is never lack in omnipresence. There is never lack in omnipresence. If we understand what omnipresence is, it's just the Spirit of God expressing as energy, as substance, which is our provision. And so there's always the availability of divine energy to become what we need or to experience what we need in the moment. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, said this up here on the screen. The spiritual substance from which comes all visible wealth is never depleted. It's right with you all the time and responds to your faith in it and your demands on it. So no matter how this other person is behaving, this is our chance to remember they can't get between me and infinite substance. It's impossible that they can stand between me and my good. They may not be my channel this time of that infinite good, but there are unlimited possibilities out here where I can find what I need. So this requires us to step up in consciousness to a divine sufficiency idea. God is my source, infinite sufficiency always present. The very essence of all that I need is here now, no matter what it looks like. I may seem to have reached the edge of my capacity, but that can never be, as long as you are making a way for God instead of getting in the way of God. How can I be an expression? How can I step out into divine sufficiency here and know that there is enough for me, no matter where it's going to come from? And that, again, allows us to become agreeable. And when you do that, and when you know that, you can actually see there's sufficiency here, not just for me, but for them too. It will always be a win-win situation. The theme here is God is our source. In all cases, God is our source of love and is the very essence of my being as love. God is the source of understanding and will reveal all that's needed in order to create a win-win situation. God is the source of what is needed here materially, and we will never run out. It's never going to be about changing the other person. It's always going to be about changing how we see this situation. And it's always going to require that we see God first. We see substance, we see love, we see understanding, and we see all the other wonderful qualities of God that are right here. We don't have to go anywhere for them. They're right here. Trust that when you get to the edge of that cliff, if you step out into God, if you become the way of God, it's always going to be a win-win situation. Now, doesn't that feel more relaxing? And it kind of puts an end to the idea of conflict that really has no need. Will you put your faith in what is real instead of listening to those old stories again? Let's take some time to sit in the quiet and think about what's real, because that's the first step, is putting our attention on what is real until it becomes real, till we live from this realization. So I'll just invite you to close your eyes. And feel the support of your chair. So much so that you're truly just relaxing into it. You're releasing any tight muscles, any tension in the body, and just letting yourself sink into the support of this chair. And as you may be thinking today about that which is interfering in your life of your good, take a moment to turn within and feel the presence of God. That whatever is outside of you, taking or pushing, reducing or contracting, maybe it's moving you off center, feeling out of balance. Just come back to your heart space for a moment. And remember, God is the only presence in my life. And that presence is only good. It is that presence that is supporting me now. It's carrying my weight. And should I step off that cliff, I step up into that presence of good. This is my way to know that good, is to step up in my mind, in my heart, into God. I sense that presence of love filling this universe. Feeling its desire to work for only good. And my heart opens, grateful that beyond any person or circumstance in my life, love is here. Love wants good for me. And the heart of divine love only knows good. As I keep my heart open to that presence, I allow that love to fill me fully. I'm at the edge of glory. And I choose in this moment to step up into that presence, trusting that it will meet me with all that I need. I feel that sense of relaxation now, knowing that. Love meets me wherever I step. Love meets me. As I say yes, I look for it, I expect it, I welcome it. All things are in this moment and every moment working for my good. As I release and let go and let the one power of this universe and beyond do the work. Nothing and no one can stand between me and my good. I rise. I let it rise. I let all things in my life rise into love. This is the nature of my being. And now I let it be. So it is. Amen. Just keep breathing. If our nature, when we see someone get in our way and appear to want to keep us from our good, if our nature is to push back or feel any sense of resistance within us, may that feeling, that negative feeling that comes up for us, be our red flag. Be a giant horn, you know, one of those at the game. Red flag, resistance. How can I be the way of God? What is true here? This is a practice, my lovies. You know that. It's a practice. And if you'll make the commitment to the practice, the result will be that you live a life being the way of God. And who doesn't want that? So we'll keep talking about this next week. We're actually going to look at a very practical way of staying in the moment when we're in conflict with someone and getting through to the other side. So hang in there with me, and hopefully you'll come away with some tools. And we're at that place in our service where we open our heart to sharing our gifts, our tithes, and our love offerings into the spiritual community that we're part of. So if this is a community that is serving you and nourishing you, we appreciate your gifts to it, for that is how we continue to do what we do. If you're watching online, we also appreciate your gifts. They're just as important to us here, and you can give online by going to unityinnaperville.org and click the donate button. Or if you are a person who likes to write checks, you can mail that to our P.O. Box 9733 in Naperville, and the zip is 60567. Let's bless what we give. We're going to call on that power of love again. Let's say these words together. Divine love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Just try that in conflict as well. That same blessing will work in conflict. Ushers, will you come, please?
It wasn't. Toby, I only had to shift one thing. I'm in resistance. Good morning, I'm Christina.
Good morning, Christina. Yay!
And I'll be sharing announcements today. So, if you're joining us for the first time, we're so glad you're with us and welcome. Please complete the orange registration card at the welcome table, which is the little table by the door, and we'll keep you posted about upcoming events. Virtual newcomers can sign up for the weekly e-news at Unity in Naperville.org. Now, if you attend here kind of regularly, but you're a little shy about getting involved, the other side of this form has getting involved. So you can fill that out and hand it in at the info table, and someone will help you get involved. Monday morning, metaphysics, yay, meets tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. They are reading The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker, and newcomers are welcome. So, join us to draw a mandala this Friday at 7 p.m. at right here at Unity. Drawing a mandala can calm you and give you peace of mind. So if you're in resistance, just come and draw. All supplies will be provided, and love offering of $20 if registered by Wednesday, or $25 if you're registering after Wednesday. Register at the info table or see the event calendar. Join Reverend Kity for monthly Monday meditation, the 3 M's, and on Zoom on June 24th at 7 p.m. We'll try out different styles of meditation each month with time for feedback and Q&A, and access the Zoom link through the calendar. And now this seems kind of unfair to announce on Father's Day, but registration is open for Unity Women Deserve a Day of Relaxation. It's on Saturday, June 29th, 10 a.m. to noon. Enjoy a relaxing morning, communing with one another. Activities included in your general admission are paraffin hand dip. I love those. DIY facial, calf massage, vibration plate, and make your own bath salts and sugar scrubs. And healthy snacks and drinks will be available. There's a love offering for general admission for $10 online or at the info table if you register by next Sunday, June 24th, or you can pay $20 at the door. Special services will also be available, and they include sparkle hair and vagus nerve stimulation, energy balancing, and chair massage. Visit the info table for more info and to reserve your appointment for these services. Services are discounted if you book in advance. If you let them know you're coming, they won't charge you as much. So, our prayer chaplain today is Carol. They can pray with you in the prayer room after the service, or email your name and phone number to prayer@unityinnaperville.org, and a chaplain, Carol, will call you today by 1 p.m. So, for details on all of our events, see the event calendar at unityinnaperville.org. Thank you.
Thank you. So, highest good singers, I invite you back, and I just want to be clear, what are sparkles? Is that like the glitter hair thing that they weave in?
Yeah.
Melinda has that in her hair sometimes, right? Okay, that's pretty. How fun. All right. Thank you. I expect to see all of you with sparkles the next day. Thank you. I invite you to stand as you're able for our closing song.
Day by day, day by day. Oh, dear Lord, three things I pray: to see Thee more clearly, love Thee more dearly, follow Thee more nearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray, to see Thee more clearly, day by day, love Thee more dearly, follow Thee more nearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray, to see Thee more clearly, love Thee more dearly, follow Thee more nearly, day by day. Day by day, by day, by day, by day.
That was fun. I like that song. I like this band. I like these singers. Isn't that fun today? Give them some more love. We have a closing affirmation today. And actually, when I looked at it, I realized this is not an affirmation. This is a denial. Remember how we talk about in Unity that we do both denials and affirmations? Denial is denying something power over us. So here, this is what it looks like. Let's say it together. No matter what, No one can separate me from God's good. Put it in its place. It has no place, right? Yeah. Okay, so before you leave today, would you please find somebody that you haven't met yet or you've forgotten their name? Just share how you're feeling about that whole resistance thing, see where you're at, and then come on out, enjoy some refreshments, and I hope to see you somewhere this week. Have a great week, everyone. Love you.
To our online family, thank you for joining us. And since this is a new song, singers, let's do I Claim a Blessing again. Ben, you want to do I Claim a Blessing? So it's one. Well, almost Linda. Here we go. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, I claim a blessing. Here we go. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. And this is how I start the day. Knowing good is on the way. I am claiming perfect health, love and laughter, friends and wealth. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. With conviction undeterred, power of the spoken word. Take my life and redefine. Break the shackles of my mind. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. In the morning when